button, and so let's wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet before we go ahead and get started. Because boy, oh boy, we've got some business to attend to. And ultra mega shout outs to Sarah Brown in the house with a lovely comment. What's up, Sarah Brown? We are late. We're 2 minutes late. It's true. Ultra late, and Ricada. I know. All right. What's up, Nick, and everybody else out there in the world? Shout out to Just Cause. It looks like we're working. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney at the R&R Law Group, located in the always beautiful and sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. And today, my friends, we are talking about our president not having any regrets at all. We're going to go through 3 different segments today. The first, of course, the president was out yesterday. He said no regrets at all. We've got reaction. Well, first of all, we've got his clip where he actually said that. Then we'll take a look at a refresher from yesterday's show because we covered a lot yesterday, and I wanted to make sure we remembered exactly what the Washington Post told us, that the Biden lawyers literally ignored the DOJ and they kept rummaging through a bunch of stuff. So we'll refresh our memory on that. We've got Karine Jean-Pierre clips. She gave a press briefing today. Not a ton from her, but we are going to get some questions because they asked her about the Biden response. Biden said, I don't have any regrets. I did everything fine. All's good. No problems at all. The media is saying, well, what does that mean exactly? Can you help us with that? We'll listen to those clips. There's questions about why Biden's going back to Rehoboth in Delaware. Does it have anything to do with more documents? Karine got asked about it. We have this fella is asking about the general process when the documents were found and whether or not we can learn anything about it because these are top secret materials. And then, of course, this guy saying, are we ever going to talk to Biden at all? Is he ever going to be out and available for us? We'll see. Now, before we wrap up that first segment, it'll be a shorter one. We've got Cocaine Mitch, who was on with a news radio show, and he got asked about the documents. Did he answer? What do you think, America and world? We'll have to wait and see. Then we'll turn our attention. We've got some letters to read. NARA, the National Archives, you remember this woman, Debra Steidel-Wall is how Trump said her name. We'll take a look at that clip when he was in the office of the presidency. You see Debra Steidel-Wall right there. She's in charge of the head library of the country, the head librarian. And the new Congress has a lot of questions for her. James Comer from Congress said that they are going to be demanding interviews with her. They sent a letter over to the National Archives, which we'll take a look at. On 114, we got an update from James Comer about the conversations. And then NARA finally responded. So the National Archives came out and they responded back on January 17th. And we'll take a look at that one too. We also have Merrick Garland in our third segment. He is snubbing Jim Jordan, who is the new Oversight Judiciary Committee chair. And Jordan is out. He was on with Laura Ingraham yesterday, and he was talking to her about Germany and the new ambassador to Germany, which just conveniently happens to be the same president for the Penn University, which is where Penn Biden Center was located, where all those confidential documents were. Politico says that the DOJ responded in a letter, and they're saying, sorry, Congress, we're not really going to give you everything that you asked for. And they're laying out their legal basis for not complying with Congress. And so we'll go through all of those letters today, and we'll see how it goes. And I'm glad that you are here and with us. Now, if you want to be a part of the show, my friends, the best place to do that is by going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We have an amazing community over there, and you can join us at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Ultra shout-outs. Go to Words Mean Things, Resident Bedoin. We got VNT Kiss. Zach Nichols is in the house. Shout out to John McGarvey. Rita MG's in the house. Welcome, Rita. It's a new name, I believe. Sousan Academy's in the house. And Joe Biden's in there. We got a picture of Joe Biden with a tattoo on his shoulder, on his bicep that says no regrets. Right on. We also have forpatriots.com, which is a great sponsor of the show. You can go there to get your survival food, survival gear. Use code Robert, save 10% off anything in your first order. Also, check out gold. I like gold, Goldco. RobertLikesGold.com is a good place to protect your savings with gold and silver. We have a new sponsor starting on Monday. I'm excited to tell you about that. It'll help you feel vigorous Looking forward to that one. And then, of course, our law firm, the R&R Law Group, where we help good people charged with crimes find safety, clarity, and hope. And people can schedule free case evaluations online at rrlawaz.com. All right, so let's get this puppy queued up, shall we? So we can get right into it. Here it is. No regrets from President Biden. Very, very convenient of him to be able to be so powerful that he doesn't have to worry about the same crimes that were used to justify to raid his political enemies, in this case, Donald Trump. He just gets to, kind of hang out. He knows he controls the DOJ. He controls the executive branch, and he's feeling pretty confident. So we'll listen to what he said. He read from a statement that was obviously prepared for him by his lawyers because he can't speak without a script. And then we'll learn over from Karine Jean-Pierre what their plan is at the White House. Are they going to continue to not talk about this or what? Because the media is kind of getting tired of not having any answers. We've got several clips there. We'll check in with Cocaine Mitch and more. But first, let's hear from the president himself. President Biden hit the podium for days and for longer, for months. Many people have wanted to know what happened with the Biden documents. How did these things end up in his garage on a wet, damp floor somewhere under a lampshade next to Hunter Biden's bong? Well, the president has been very quiet, very usual. Many Americans are kind of used to this behavior from them. And Karine Jean-Pierre has been flailing around the press briefing room while the president has been back in the basement. But now he's out. And here's what he said when asked about this. He was kind of irritated that this even got brought up. Don't you know how amazing the economy is and how great world affairs are? Why are you asking him about these old documents? Here's the president.
I will answer the question, but here's the deal. What quite frankly bugs me is that we have a serious problem here we're talking about what's going on, and the American people don't quite understand why you don't ask me questions about that. But having said that, what's your question?
Not reveal the existence of the documents back in November before the midterms.
Question: do you have any regrets about the documents and not revealing them before the midterms? Shut up, lady. Okay, shut up now. Okay, I'm gonna read whatever's on this piece of paper. It really doesn't matter what you ask me. Okay, shut up. Hold on a minute. Let me get my notes.
Hang on. Okay, look. As we found a handful of documents were filed in the wrong place.
Yeah.
We immediately turned them over to the archives and the Justice Department. We're fully cooperating and looking forward to getting this resolved quickly. I think you're going to find there's nothing there. I have no regrets. I'm following what the lawyers have told me they want me to do. It's exactly what we're doing. There's no there. Thank you.
There's no there. Thank you. With that old little tap, tap, tappy with his binder thing that he does every time he leaves the podium. Now, you notice, right, he pulled out a statement. He goes, uh-oh, crap. Holy crap, this is a confidential document question. What am I supposed to do here? All right, open up the binder. There it goes. Reach inside that little inside envelope there, that little fold. Open it up. Move that paper aside. Dig for it. Where's the card? There it is. Perfect. Got it right there. Drag it out. What does it say? Read from the card. Don't speak. Look back down at the paper there, Joe. All right, now what's the question? Okay, now he says, what's your question? Now, once the card's out, what's your question?
Going on, and the American people don't quite understand why you don't ask me questions about that. But having said that, what's your question?
Okay, now he's got the card down at his podium, so now it doesn't really matter what the question is.
Not reveal the existence of the documents back in November before the midterms.
Okay, stop now.
Okay. As we found a handful of documents were filed.
Had a difficult time reading that word because it's hard. Failed and filed. They both start with F.
Filed in the wrong place. We immediately turned them over to the archives and the Justice Department. We're fully cooperating and looking forward to getting this resolved quickly. I think you're going to find there's nothing there.
Uh-oh. He stopped reading from the card. Didn't he? That statement ended. And now what comes next is off the cuff. Not good.
Looking forward to getting this resolved quickly. I think you're going to find there's nothing there. I have no regrets. I'm following what the lawyers have told me they want me to do. It's exactly what we're doing. There's no there. Thank you.
Okay, so who are the lawyers who are telling you what to do? Do we have all of their names, your entire legal team, or do we get to know anything about that? Or what's the deal? Because we have a lot of questions there, Mr. President. It does seem like something there is there, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But did you notice who this fella is in the background? Who is this guy back here? Who is that? Who's this little fella back here? Is that old Newsom? Yeah, because he's in California, right? And so he's got this little vulture who's hanging over his right shoulder, who is just waiting for him, looking at him, just watching, waiting. You can see, look at this, playing with the audio off. Gavin Newsom, just waiting for President Biden to flame out, to be taken out and ejected from the Democratic Party so that he can go in there and seize control of the Democratic Party. He's coming for him, man. Joe Biden, you better be careful, buddy boy. You got Brutus right back there behind you. Hold on tight, Joe. It's going to be a rough couple of months for you, buddy boy. Now, he said there is no there. All right, that's a fun phrase of him. Now, we know that that is total baloney because we covered this at length yesterday. Now, we've gone through a timeline here, right? Last thing I want to do is belabor us with a timeline every time we go on the show because I'll do that every time. So let me just skip that. But let me explain what we talked about and added to the timeline yesterday. Several clips that I'm about to share with you came from this article from the Washington Post. And I want to just talk about two dates. One date in November and one date in December. That's it. From this clip, the Washington Post, conveniently, they tell us democracy dies in darkness. Isn't that nice? Here's what they report. They say in mid-November 2022, in a communication that has not yet been previously reported, a senior official in the Justice Department National Security Division from the DOJ sent a letter to Bob Bauer, Biden's personal attorney, in November, asking for his cooperation with the department's inquiry. The Justice Department asked specifically, let me move myself off this screen here. They asked specifically, right there, that Biden's legal team secure the materials from the Penn Biden Center and refrain from further reviewing them or other relevant documents that might be stored at different locations. See that? According to the letter, the contents of which were shared with the Post. So the Washington Post is telling us that Biden's personal lawyers got a letter from the Justice Department, which Joe Biden runs, the DOJ, through Merrick Garland. And they sent a letter to the team. Stop looking at the documents and specifically don't go to different locations, no matter what you do. In November, Washington Post saw the letter that came from the DOJ. Now let's fast forward. Biden's team has said that they've been cooperating with the DOJ. That's the only stupid statement that we've heard from Karine Jean-Pierre basically this entire time. We did the right thing. We did the right thing. We've been cooperating. We're trying to be transparent. For questions with the DOJ, I refer you over there. November letter. Stop searching residents for confidential documents. Fast forward to this. Same article from the Washington Post. The garage discovery. Oh yeah, what happened? When did that happen? Biden had just returned to Washington from a long pre-Christmas weekend in Delaware when his personal attorneys began another search. Are we crazy? Didn't they just get a letter that said stop searching from the DOJ? This was taking place now 7 weeks and 110 miles away from the first. This time, the lawyers were looking in Biden's garage in Wilmington. So this is now in December. Pre-Christmas weekend. And they located another box at the bottom of a long driveway. It's where Biden stores his Corvette. The garage in this footage captured shows where the Corvette is located. Now, when his lawyers searched the garage, again, why were they searching the garage? They got a letter mid-November from the Department of Justice. Don't look at any other locations. They're looking anyways. They found one. They called a small number of records with classified markings. Once they made the discovery, they alerted the team headed by John Lausch, the U.S. attorney who was appointed back in November. The U.S. overseeing the Justice Department immediately stopped searching, and then they turned it back over to the government. So why, I would love to know from Karine or from the Biden lawyers or from the White House counsel or from the DOJ what they're going to do about that. Because Biden's lawyers were told by them not to go look at different locations for different documents. They did in December. We know that because they found the December 20th documents. It's this moment. Why were they disobeying a direct request from the DOJ? That sounds like obstruction. They're saying that Trump and his team did a bunch of stuff with the documents. They were disavowing and disobeying the Department of Justice. That's what caused the FBI to go raid their property, his property, and rummage through Melania's underwear. Why did that not happen here? If Biden's lawyers are still rummaging around in Wilmington, John Lausch already sent them a letter. Stop searching. They searched again. The FBI should have raided every other property at that moment because they're disobeying a direct request from the DOJ. They're not cooperating at all. They're actually being adversarial. What are they looking for and why are they looking for it? And who made the decision to do that, to disregard a direct request from the DOJ? So Biden says there's nothing there. There's no there there. There's a big there. Those lawyers were rummaging around through documents that they were not entitled to be rummaging around in. So Biden said no regrets. Now, Karine Jean-Pierre, as usual, has to clean up some of this mess. And Biden, I think, ad-libbed that one in there. He probably does have some serious regrets, especially if it evaporates his presidency. But the White House was asked about this. Karine Jean-Pierre is back from a trip and is asked, does the president regret any of this? I mean, he kind of was on the upswing. He was coming off of a nice midterm victory. Things were looking good for him. And all of a sudden, boom, classified documents fall out of his pants. Any regrets, Karine?
What does the president mean when he said no regrets? Because he's also said he takes very seriously the handling of classified documents. So I'm unclear what he means about no regrets.
So I'm not going to comment further from what the president has said.
Why not?
Yesterday, I think he laid out his thoughts. He was asked about it. He laid out his thoughts of whatever question he was asked. I'm not going to get into specifics, or I'm not going to go beyond what the president has said. But I will reiterate from here that and basically what he said to all of you many times at this point, that he does indeed take classified information and seriously. He does
Not that
take
seriously.
classified documents seriously. I'm just not going to go beyond that. I would refer you to the White House counsel's office for any specifics on the president's comments or how the process is moving forward.
Can you just shed light on was he referring to sort of the rollout of the information or about the timeline, or I'm just unclear about what he's not regretting?
And Kelly O, I totally understand the question.
Totally.
I totally understand why you may
Oh,
want clarity
man.
here, but I'm going to be
So
prudent.
good.
I'm going to be consistent here. I'm
But-
not going to comment on the ongoing process, the legal process from here. I will just let the president's words stand for itself. I'm going to go around here.
They don't stand for themselves, though, there, Karine. We'd like to know, what doesn't he regret? Does that mean he would take more documents with him? Or put them in a different garage? Because he's the president, he kind of has access to a lot of confidential documents. Does he think all this went well? And would he do it again? Karine doesn't want to answer on that one. So another individual, this fella, chimes in. All right, Karine, I know you don't want to talk about this anymore. I know you're tired of it. However, we have ongoing questions. Can you please clarify that? What did the president mean when he said no regrets?
One clarification, if I can, on the president's answer yesterday to the documents. He said in that answer that he is doing everything that attorneys are asking him to do, so this protocol and everything. Was his answer vetted through counsel or anything like that? Can you tell us that?
I mean, it's
Of course it was. He read from a script. What was he reading from? Who wrote that? Did you write that, Karine? Was the White House involved in scripting that? Can you tell us more?
The same thing that he has said before, which is he and his team are cooperating fully. That's the same.
So
You weren't cooperating, though, because your attorneys, Biden's lawyers, were rummaging through documents when they got a letter from the DOJ that said don't do that. So that's not very cooperative when they're asking you to not interfere with their investigation and you're interfering. Hello.
That's the same answer he has given many, many times, and so has his White House counsel's office, is that his and his team.
talking about it in the way that he did,
Again, that's nothing new. He has said that before. But again, I'm not going to parse the words of the president. You heard him say what.
That's your job, Karine. Your whole job is to parse the words of the president for us. Every day. You're supposed to come out here and explain what the hell he's doing. Why wouldn't you do your job?
He gave his remarks and make his statement. I'm just not going to dive into that.
on the meeting on Tuesday with Democratic.
It's like they work in different administrations now. Are they working in the same White House? She's like, oh, we're not involved in any of that. The president is being investigated for crimes. Oh, you're kidding me. Wow. That's pretty amazing. So you better go talk to the White House counsel about that. I only want to talk about what this White House is doing. And you go, yeah, but it is your White House. What I meant is the economy. The economy's great. Everything, jobs are great. All right.
Members, can you sort of characterize what that meeting is? Is it sort of a temperature taking as agendas and priorities are set for the upcoming State of the Union speech?
Well, look, I mean, it is part of the new Congress, right? New leadership with the new Congress is an opportunity, clearly ahead of the State of the Union, to connect and continue to grow the relationships that he has with leadership. And they're going to talk about a range of issues. It is not uncommon. I think somebody just pointed that to me. I think it was Josh who said, how common it is for the president to meet with leadership at this time. So again, we're doing what the president believes is important.
No, we're not concerned that he's losing the entire party. He's not going over there to glad hand the incoming Democrat Hakeems. He's there instead to just, check in, normal routine stuff. He's not petrified that he's losing his entire administration.
As he tries to deliver for the American people, to try and do that bipartisanship that he talked about right after the midterms, because that we understand that's what the American people want to see. And so that's what you're going to see next week with the president. Go ahead, Steve.
All right, we'll see. So no clarification on the no regrets or regrets. It's just all smooth sailing. Why? Because Biden knows that he's got the most institutions in the federal government weaponized and on his side. We are going to talk about that today when we get over to the conversation about the DOJ snubbing the Congressional House Oversight Committee, as well as NARA and them stonewalling the GOP. But let's first talk about Goldco, my friends, because our friends over at Goldco will help you protect your retirement with gold and silver. And of course, if you've got an IRA or a savings account out there, things are scary. We've got the Biden administration printing more money in the past 2 years than they have in the previous 100 years combined. The national debt hit a record $30 trillion, and inflation's the highest we've seen since 1982. It's only a matter of time before the house of cards comes crashing down. If you have retirement savings, your money could be at serious risk. And so talk to my friends at Goldco. See how you can protect your retirement with gold and silver before it's too late. Go to robertlikesgold.com and they will give you $10,000 or more in free silver when you open a qualifying account. That's robertlikesgold.com. They are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. And it makes you feel vibrant and full and thick and safe, man, with beautiful gold at robertlikesgold.com. All right. And so now let's get back to this White House, because this woman had a very good question for Karine. And she was saying, hey, Karine, the president is traveling a lot. He likes to go back to Delaware on a regular basis. Is there a reason why President Biden is traveling so often back to Delaware, Karine? Is he going through his old shoe boxes looking for other documents?
The president going to his home in Rehoboth Beach today, does that have anything to do with classified documents being found at Wilmington and none being found at Rehoboth?
So as it relates to classified documents, information, which the president takes very, very seriously, and you heard him speak to it when he was asked by your colleagues yesterday when he was traveling in California, I would refer you to the White House Counsel Office for any statement coming from here or anything, new developments. coming from here. But as it relates specifically to the investigation, I would refer you to Department of Justice. So I'm not going to not going to comment on that piece at all from here. I'm just going to continue to be prudent and consistent and respect the Department of Justice process. As it relates to his travel, as you know, he often travels to Delaware on the weekends. I just don't have anything else to share. But anything related to the legal process, I would refer you to them.
Can you tell us, Karine, have all of the shredders been removed from his personal residences? Can you confirm that for us? Well, you know, shredders are very needed devices, and you know, the president has personal materials as well, and so I can't really answer that. So talk to the White House counsel about that one, and they'll inform you about the presidential shredder standard. And we're definitely not using a commercial company who comes and just takes the things out by the barrel full. Everything is transparent. Next question. All right, so that's Karine. Absolutely curious as to why he is going back, flying all over the place in looking for documents. Have they stopped looking for documents? I don't know. Has that ended yet? Or are they still doing that thing? Because Merrick Garland hasn't said anything about it. Who knows? Now, Karine was also asked about this. This is a little bit of a tangent. So you'll notice on this screen here, there are, they don't want to talk about the documents. So what they did is they had their staff bring out these blue boards. And some intern back there was like, all right, Karine's like, all right, look, can you bring out some visual aids here for us today? I don't want to talk about the documents. I don't know. Just put anything up there. Anything. I don't care. So some intern is scrambling away. Feels like probably me during show prep. They're throwing a bunch of stuff on these boards, sending them over to the printer. They wrote, how about this? How about 2 years of delivering results? Okay. And then they wrote, you know, all these numbers, 3.5%. Okay, whatever that is, unemployment. 15.9 million, whatever that is, you know, COVID, whatever it is, doesn't matter. 300 million here, 11 million here, 10.5 million over here. Like, wow, that looks great. Okay, we could use a little more room to fill up this lower corner, but we're out of time. So next press briefing, just fill that in with some other made up number. Nobody cares. Over here, same problem with this one. Taking action to lower cost. You only have 3 rectangles on this one. We definitely could use a 4th rectangle. So the next time we have to get out here, make sure you do that. The intern's like, all right, I'm sorry about that, Miss Karine. I'll work on that next time. So they finally come out here. And Karine's like, all right, good enough. All right, go back to your desk. Good enough. Let me get out here and deal with these vulture press briefers. All right. And she walks out, and one of these questions comes up, and the person in the press asks this one.
There are 2 headings there that say record healthcare enrollment. One says 11 million, nearly 11 million. The other says nearly 15.9. What's the difference?
Oh, yeah. What? So the question is, this one says healthcare enrollment, and this one also says healthcare enrollment. That one says 11 million. But this made-up number says 15.9 million, but it says they're both the same thing. People enrolled and people enroll. It's just a copy and paste. These 2 rectangles are referencing the same thing, but they're different numbers, 11 million and 15.9 million, from this very, very competent adult-in-the-room White House.
There are 2 headings there that say record healthcare enrollment. One says 11 million, nearly 11 million. The other says nearly 15.9. What's the difference?
That's a good question. I would have to ask our team. I'm going to be very, very honest with you.
Intern fired.
Let me get back to the team, and then we'll be able to decipher the difference.
Really quick.
Intern's fired. Sorry. Totally blew it, man. Not only did you not put all of the rectangles in there, but you're also copy and pasted the made up numbers. And so there's 2 of them in there. So you're out of here. You're fired. Next time, make up the numbers better. Okay? Make them better.
What's the difference?
That's a good question. I would have to ask our team. I'm going to be very, very honest with you on that. Let me get back to the team, and then we'll be able to decipher the difference.
Is it 16 million or is it 11 million? Who knows? Who cares? It doesn't really matter. It's all just made up anyways. All right, so that's what we get out of the White House. So you can imagine they really don't know what the hell they're doing with any of these documents. So the question comes in from the press, and the press says, all right, look, you're not going to tell us anything about anything, which is really annoying. But okay, White House requests go to White House counsel. Justice Department requests go to Justice Department. Got it. Now, let's set that all aside, Karine. You're very intelligent. You've been doing this job a long time. I have a question about process, White House process. Not Joe Biden, not the documents, not the White House counsel, not DOJ, nothing. Just about the process. Because you still have 2 years of your administration left, unfortunately. Can you tell us about correcting this process, or what you're doing to make sure this doesn't happen again.
I also wanted to ask, without speaking about the investigation or the special counsel specifically, if you could walk us through a little bit of what the process in general is supposed to be when classified documents are improperly found, and if the White House has any role in those circumstances, if they refer anything to the Office of Director of National Intelligence, or sort of what that process
How does it work?
should be. Again, sort of not necessarily referencing the current situation, but just in general.
I hear the question. It's been.
You see this poor guy? He's like a battered husband. You can just see he's just so pressed to answer this poor question. He does the prayer. Look at this. He even does the prayer thing. He's like, please, for the love of Jesus, man, can you please just answer this question for us? We've been here for 4 days. Help us, man, help us.
The question, it's been asked to me many different ways, many different times.
I'm trying yet another.
And I appreciate the effort. Again, I am going to refer you on the particulars of the process and how it goes down and how it works. I'm going to refer you to the White House Counsel office, my colleagues there. They will be happy to engage with you and listen to your question and answer it the best that they can.
Prayer denied, rejected. See you in hell.
I am just not going to be speaking it from here, and my colleagues who have already been engaging with many of your colleagues and probably you over the last 2 weeks, I'll let them take care of that. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Karine. Could you just speak a little bit more about why is it Vice President Harris who's going to be giving the speech?
All right, so no more questions on that one. Now, as we wrap up with Karine Jean-Pierre, the media's finally like, all right, can we at least are we ever going to talk to the president again? Is Joe Biden ever going to emerge from the basement now that he's under federal investigation for criminal charges by his own special counsel?
To follow up on that, he's set for very, very few interviews since he took office, particularly with print publications. Can you commit to making him more available for one-on-ones with both print and other outlets this year?
Here's what I can tell you. The president is going to engage with reporters almost on a daily basis. He did it yesterday. He took questions from your colleagues yesterday.
The town hall no regrets question, that one that he answered and then walked away?
When he was in California, and he will continue to do that. And he believes that's important. He believes it's an opportunity to, when he communicates with all of you or answers your question, he believes it's an important, you're an important vessel to the American people, right? Pushing out what he is doing on behalf of the American people. He does that almost every day when he's in front of all of you, he takes a question. That's the commitment that I can make from here, from the president. I'm gonna move around, Christina. Thank you.
Nothing there. No questions. Every time he hits the helicopter, he'll just walk on by. And you get what you get, America. Now, there's other people who are weighing in on this. One of them happens to be Cocaine Mitch. Cocaine Mitch McConnell. He doesn't speak too regularly, but he did on this one. Mitch McConnell jumped on news radio and shared his opinion about the Biden documents.
On the matter of documents, let's forget Joe Biden for a minute. What do you have in your garage?
Maybe I should go out and search it, huh? Yeah.
Do you have a Corvette?
Yeah. No, I wish I did. I think the important thing with regard to documents is that both these guys ought to be treated exactly the same way.
Yes,
exactly the same way.
Raid him.
And so I think the Attorney General probably did the right thing by having two special counsels. What's good for one candidate for president ought to be good for another one.
Raid. FBI raid.
Comer's got a heck of a job, though, ahead of him because there's multiple, obviously, issues. They talk about Hunter Biden's laptop constantly. Is that a real issue, or should we move on to...
We'll see.
Come on, Mitch.
We'll it's just a matter of how much energy they can put into that. There's only so many things they can do, that's for sure. The fair tax...
Did you hear that? That poor radio host wanted a little bit more out of Mitch. Hunter Biden laptop. Is there anything there? We'll see, says Mitch. We'll see. And he says, I guess it depends on. And McConnell doesn't respond.
One candidate for president ought to be good for another one.
Comer's got a heck of a job, though, ahead of him because there's multiple, obviously, issues. They talk about Hunter Biden's laptop constantly.
Respond.
Is that a real issue, or should we move on to...
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll
Come on.
see.
Come on.
It's just a matter of how much energy they can put in.
Your
There's
turn.
only so many things they can do.
Your turn, Mitch.
Sure. The fair tax.
Did you hear that? He moves on to the fair tax. He just skipped right over that. McConnell doesn't want to talk about Hunter Biden. That host, man, he wanted to dig into it. But Mitch McConnell's probably sitting there and he's like, no, cut it. Next one. Next topic. For whatever reason. Well, we'll continue to cover that, of course. Thank you for liking this video wherever it is you're watching it and hitting that subscribe button. If you enjoy the work that we do here, we always want to see you on the next one. Now, we also have to turn our attention to the National Archives because James Comer and the Republicans are digging in. The National Archives stonewalls the GOP. Of course, you know Miss Debra Steidel-Wall. She was the individual who was in charge of the National Archives back when Trump was in office, and she is still currently in charge of the National Archives today. And she sent a letter over to the new House Oversight Committee because James Comer, this fella here, sent her a letter earlier, and they finally responded because we want to know what the head librarian has to say about all of this stuff. She's the person who apparently knows where all the classified documents are. She was very upset that Trump had some outstanding overdue library books, and it was such a problem for her that she referred it over to the DOJ, and then they raided his house. But we have a question for her in particular. Why were you so upset over Trump's documents and not over Joe Biden's documents? We want to know what the head librarian, the person who is, I guess, the most powerful person in the whole country, because she gets to say whether or not the president can classify or declassify documents. She said, no, Trump had no authority to do that. Those are my library books, and therefore he is a criminal. She made the referral over to the DOJ. They took it from there, got the FBI involved, and the rest is history. So NARA, the National Archives, you remember her. She doesn't like Trump, in my humble opinion. I don't know this for fact, but I could just sense it based on this interaction, which we've played here several times on the show. But remember this, Trump is the president. We've got Melania standing to his right. The room is filled with people, accolades. They've got different things over their shoulders, symbolizing something. I don't know. But to Trump's right, you'll notice this woman right here, Debra Steidel-Wall. Oh, it's the ratification of the 19th Amendment, so women can vote. Yeah, and here Trump is taking a look over his shoulder, and he doesn't really know who it is. And he makes a crack about the National Archives, about a lot of archives. So there's a lot of paper in that room, and Debra doesn't like it.
Debra Steidel-Wall, Deputy Archivist of the United States.
Right here, over there.
Sounds like a very big job. That's a lot of archives, isn't it? How many buildings does that take up, right? Great job. I hear you do a great job. Thank you very much.
She didn't like it. She didn't like it. See that? See that eye blink right there? How many buildings is that one? Oh, that right there, her eyes are closed. She's going like this. Oh, this idiot. Oh, this white Cheeto Nazi insurrectionist. She doesn't like it at all. And so that's the moment, my friends. This is where this all started. I know a lot of people think this is about, other things. This is it. She didn't like that crack, and she decided she's going to take him out for the rest of the country.
Buildings does that take up, right?
Look.
Great job. I hear you do a great job. Thank you very much.
Oh, she didn't like that, man. I want Ultra HD on that one because you can tell. That was the moment she said, that's it. All right, I want my library books back. You're in big trouble, buddy boy. She wrote the letter over to the DOJ, and boy, Trump had his house raided. She's powerful. Be careful. We're big fans of Debra on this channel. What's up, Debra? Okay, don't raid our property. I don't have any of your library books. All right. So James Comer is in the House of Representatives, and he is saying that he's going after the National Archives because it feels like they're a little bit biased. They didn't like Trump's joke, right? They didn't like Trump. He was just being affable and personable. It was a funny joke. I don't know how many buildings there are, but she took it a little personal. And now the Republicans are looking back at what they have done. James Comer says, we're going after the National Archives. We want to know what they did, what their communication was, because they initiated a bunch of this stuff. And why were there certain standards for Donald Trump, but not the same standards applied for Joe Biden, right? Joe Biden, as we now know, got a letter from the DOJ. His attorneys were told to stop looking for documents. At that moment in time, the National Archives knew there were outstanding documents. We know that the Biden lawyers were continuing to look for those documents. So if Debra Steidel-Wall is so concerned about people having access to classified materials who shouldn't have access to classified materials, why didn't she apply the same rules that she applied to Trump to Biden when Biden's lawyers were still rummaging around? Or maybe she did. Did they send letters back and forth? Were there meetings? What was the backstory here? James Comer says he's going to dig into it.
About what I'm sure is a buzz right now in Washington. Do you plan your thoughts?
Yes, we've already requested information. As we speak, these letters are going out. We're asking the head of the National Archives to come in and let us do a transcribed interview with that individual. We also have requested specific information from both the White House counsel and the National Archives pertaining to what went on with Biden's possession of classified information. Remember, Joe Biden was quick to criticize President Bush for having possession of apparent classified documents. He said that was irresponsible and reckless. Now we see that he did the same thing. Even worse, we see that there was a cover-up. This happened November the 2nd, the discovery of the classified documents at the Biden Center. But we're just now finding out about it because CBS broke the story last night. So obviously, Joe Biden continues his pattern of not being transparent at all. He continues his pattern of cover-ups. We want to know exactly the same things we've asked about Trump. What type of documents does he have? And is the FBI going to raid the residence of Joe Biden like they did the residence of President Trump?
Obviously, the answer to that question is no. But Comer was right. He actually did send in a letter to NARA, the National Archives. And so we are going to read through that right now. We're then going to hear the response from NARA because Debra responded. She wrote back to him. She said, well, here's what you're going to get from us, and it ain't going to be much. But before we look at all of that, let's talk about survival food and survival gear and our friends over at 4Patriots, because as you know, a food shortage, it could be coming. Look what's going on in the grocery stores with eggs and so on. Experts have written about this. It's all over the place. We've got drought, inflation, new economic policies, international war. That's why survival food is more important now than ever. And you can create your own stockpile of the best-selling 4Patriots survival food kits. This is not ordinary food. We're talking about good for 25 years, super survival food. Stuff is hand-packed right in family-owned facilities in the United States, giving jobs to over 200 Americans. These kits are compact, they're sturdy, they're water-resistant, stack easily. Many different delicious breakfast, lunches, and dinners, and you can make these meals in less than 20 minutes. Just add boiling water, simmer, and serve. And you can go to 4patriots.com, use code Robert, save 10% off anything in the store, including a 3-month survival kit. 3 months! You'll get their famous guarantee for an entire year after your order, plus free shipping on anything over $97. They're called 4Patriots because a portion of all sales are donated to charities that support our veterans and their families. And you can go to 4patriots.com, use code Robert, start saving today, build your stockpile, and get prepared at 4patriots.com. All right, my friends. And so thank you for supporting our sponsors here and our friends over at 4Patriots. Now let's turn our attention over to the letter from Mr. James Comer. Comer sends a letter January 10th to Debra Steidel-Wall, the acting archivist of the United States. And he says, hey, Deb. All right, we're in charge now. And the Committee on Oversight and Accountability is investigating whether there is a political bias at your organization called NARA, the National Archives. He says, for months, NARA failed to disclose to committee Republicans or to the American public that Biden, after serving as vice president, stored highly classified documents in a closet at his personal office. NARA, he says, you people learned about these documents days before the 2022 midterms, and you didn't alert anybody that he was violating the law. Meanwhile, NARA instigated a public and unprecedented FBI raid at Mar-a-Lago, former President Trump's home, to get his documents. NARA's inconsistent treatment of recovering classified records held by Trump and Biden raises questions about political bias at your agency. In the aftermath of the FBI August 8th raid, NARA attempted to both minimize its role in the matter and explain that the Obama-Biden administration handling of the documents was proper and complete. In an October 11 statement, NARA claimed it had assumed physical custody of all the Obama-Biden records when president and vice president left office. NARA claimed that reports that indicate or imply that those presidential records were in possession of their former presidents or their representatives are false and misleading. Okay, so remember after the Trump raid, people were talking about the Obama documents. They're like, no, remember people were coming out and they said he had them like in a bowling alley or something. NARA said, no, that's false and misleading. They said that your statement was false and misleading because NARA apparently never corrected that statement after learning that President Biden ultimately had documents at Penn Biden Center, right? They knew about it before was apparently false. They didn't correct the record after they learned about it, okay? Because they put this statement out first in October. We learned about it in November. On November 2nd, Comer continues, he says, a week before the midterm elections, President Biden's personal attorneys, whose level of security clearance remains unknown, quote, discovered classified Biden documents that were quietly handed off to the U.S. DOJ without executing a search warrant. The documents retrieved from Biden's personal office included documents designated as sensitive compartmented information, which is used for highly sensitive information obtained from intelligence sources. Comer says NARA's public enforcement of the Presidential Records Act against Trump while failing to disclose violations by Biden to Republicans and the American public raises concerns about your inconsistent policy and the procedures at your agency. As such, please provide us with the following documents. We're in charge now, by the way. We run the Oversight Committee. No later than January 24th, next week, 2023. Comer wants all documents and communications between the National Archives and the White House about the Penn Biden Center documents, all documents and communications between NARA employees and Gary Stern and John Hamilton related to the documents at the Penn Biden Center. And those are new names. I don't know who those are, but they are obviously NARA employees, so we'll keep our eyes on them. All documents and communications between NARA and the DOJ, all documents about any outside entity. They say, additionally, we request that you make Gary Stern, NARA General Counsel, and John Hamilton, NARA Director of Congressional Affairs, available for transcribed interviews no later than January 17th. Get them scheduled. Has that happened? I doubt it. Now, the Committee on Oversight and Accountability has specific jurisdiction over the National Archives, and we have broad authority over this. If you have any questions about this, let us know. Signed, your friend, James Comer. Copying slippery Jamie Raskin, Democrat on the House. Now, you can see that this is a lot that it's going over to the National Archives, and this went out on January 10th. He says, feels like you guys are pretty politically biased over there. Would you care to respond on this one? January 10th goes by. We get a couple days. James Comer hops onto the air, and here he is. On January 14th, this is January 14th, CBS broke the story January 5th, if you remember. And so this is James Comer sitting down with Catherine Herridge talking about NARA. The letter has already gone out to the National Archives. They're saying, what else are you going to get from them, James? Are they responding to you?
Has the National Archives responded to your request for records?
None. No. We've requested a briefing as well, a simple briefing. I have not heard back from the National Archives.
Are subpoenas on the table for the National Archives?
Yeah, if they don't give us the information, I mean, we need to know how serious these documents were.
If they don't give us the information, baby, we're coming in hot with subpoenas. So guess what happens after that threat hits the table? So here you can see Comer sends a letter to NARA, 1/10/2023. Response from NARA on 1/14, no, haven't gotten anything. Fast forward to January 17th, and guess what? NARA responds. Let's take a look at that. This is the letter from the National Archives. The archivist of the United States, the head librarian, Debra Steidel-Wall, who runs all the buildings with all the papers at the archives. She responds to James Comer and she says, "Dear Mr. James, dear Chairman." She says, all right, Congressman, thank you for your letter on January 10th and the opportunity to clarify some facts in regard to our role and the recovery of the records of Trump and of Joe Biden, which in both instances involved the discovery of classified records prompting a referral to the DOJ. The head librarian says, okay, Congressman, in your letter, you have specifically requested documents and interviews concerning the discovery of classified records at Biden's private offices. She says, I want to express my commitment to working cooperatively with you and your staff on this. Our desire to provide you with as much information as we can, however, oh, here it comes, must also be balanced with the need to protect the executive branch. As you're aware, on January 13th, your staff met with my Director of Congressional Affairs, John Hamilton. Ooh, we're going to have to go fill out this timeline, baby. This is going to be good. And my General Counsel, Gary Stern, to discuss our response to your letter. They explained that we had begun the search for responsive records and that we would have to consult with the DOJ regarding the release of any records. So they're putting up a roadblock. They're going to say, oh, man, darn it. Man, we can't cooperate with Congress now. Why? There's a special counsel. Oh, bummer. Everything's got to go through them. You see that little force field that just went up? Robert Hur is going to manage the whole thing, so NARA can't get involved. The DOJ has advised it will need to consult with the newly appointed Office of Special Counsel in the DOJ to assess whether information can be released without interfering with the special counsel's investigation. So the special counsel, Robert Hur, he's going to just protect everything. This little protective bubble just went up. National Archive. Oh, no, man, we'd love to help you. I'm committed to working cooperatively with you on all of this. However, unfortunately, we can't send you anything, you know. NARA expects to get those records to the DOJ within the next few days, and we have asked that they expedite their review so we can respond to you and your January 24th date as soon as possible, where we'll send you a letter and we say we can't give you anything. DOJ is committed to working with NARA to facilitate your discussions. However, the DOJ was not able to provide us with a specific date by which they will complete their review, since the special counsel was only established on January 12th. Yeah, they could have done that a long time ago. If we had known about this back in November, they could have started this whole process from the beginning. Maybe they should have, rather than, I don't know, defying what the DOJ asked them to do, obstructing their own DOJ's investigation. It is my understanding that you would like to interview Mr. Stern and Mr. Hamilton on the same topics. I respectfully request that you agree to postpone the scheduling of the interviews until the DOJ completes its review of the documents, which will probably take 35 years, since any restrictions that apply to the documents will necessarily apply to the interviews. Head librarian Debra says, Dear Mr. Comer, in this initial response to you, I would like to address the concerns you've raised about NARA conducting its work with political bias. Says that you stated in your very racist letter to us, you said that NARA's public enforcement of the Presidential Records Act against Trump raises concerns about the appearance of political bias. And Debra says, well, all right, here, Mr. Comer. As my lawyer explained to you, NARA treats all of its communications with the White House, the DOJ, and former presidents and vice presidents as presumptively confidential. Unless we're raiding your house with the FBI. Then it's just sort of presumptively public because everybody can see the FBI agents, raiding your house. For this reason, NARA did not affirmatively discuss or disclose to our oversight committees or to the public our activities concerning the return to our custody of either the Biden presidential records or the Trump presidential records, or our referral of both matters to the DOJ because we found classified information. These people are something else, man. It's unbelievable. She's like, we didn't disclose anything about what happened at Trump. We didn't say anything. We didn't publicize that, just like we didn't publicize Joe Biden. No, but you raided Trump's house. You communicated to the DOJ that that was appropriate because you demanded your books back. So no. You didn't maybe technically announce it, but the FBI did. Only when those topics were subsequently reported to the press, approximately 9 months after the communication began on the Trump matter and 2.5 months after the Biden matter, did NARA begin to respond to queries from you and the predecessor chairwoman, and only then in a manner that would not harm the integrity of the DOJ investigations. Accordingly, our actions and responses with respect to both are entirely consistent and without any political bias. Yeah, because they did the same thing, it unfolded very differently. These people are so dishonest. They knew back in November, that Joe Biden had potential other documents at other locations. Essentially the same problem that they had with Trump. People who didn't have the right to possess the documents could still access and potentially possess the documents. It's literally the same thing. They told Joe Biden's lawyers, stop rummaging around the different locations. They kept doing it. The DOJ knows they kept doing it because they found the documents and called the DOJ and said, we found more documents. Which is exactly the same thing that they said they had to move in on with Trump to prevent from happening. You remember? Same thing. So she's actually not being entirely consistent. She's being very dishonest here. She is trying to make these two things the same, and she's saying that, oh no, we only actually discussed them after they were publicly reported. Yeah, but you shined a big spotlight on Trump's house and you set off fireworks in his backyard. And everybody knew about that. And you initiated it. She says, additionally, as I noted to you in my August 16th response, NARA had no knowledge of and played absolutely no role in the FBI's August search of the estate, nor of the prior subpoena that the DOJ had issued. This is a lie by omission. We've talked about this here on this channel. Her initial letter initiated the whole thing. Somebody initiated the complaint that Trump had outstanding documents. Who initiated the complaint to the FBI? The FBI didn't just go on its own and come out of the blue and say, gosh, we think we should just go investigate Trump and his documents. Somebody who had ownership or should have ownership of the documents is supposed to have custody, possessory interest of them. That's the archivist. She initiated the whole thing with the DOJ. Now she's saying I had absolutely no role in the FBI raid. That's probably true. I imagine that the FBI did not bring the National Archivist, Debra, down to the raid or any of her archival employees. But she filed the complaint. It had to originate from somebody. She's like a prosecutor filing a complaint or a law enforcement officer filing a complaint. She has to make the complaint. The DOJ is investigating the criminal charge reported by the archives and launching the FBI as the law enforcement agencies to go execute the investigation. And now she's telling you she had no involvement in it? She's lying by omission. It's very dishonest. I would also like to address the concern you raised about our October 11th statement, saying that Obama's records were in a storage facility in Chicago, saying that those are somehow still under the control of Obama. People were pointing out Obama's hypocrisy, kind of a thing. Please note that at the very end of the presidential administration, this is interesting, NARA receives only the presidential and the vice presidential records that the departing administration provides us. Listen, we are never able to know whether we have all such records. Okay, so a whole separate problem with what is going on here is we have been trying to understand what the final, who's in charge of all the library books. Is there a giant spreadsheet of confidential documents that says, okay, Trump has this one checked out. It's due back in 21 days. Or Joe Biden has this document. It's checked out, due back in 21 days. Is there an inventory of classified documents, or can somebody just create a document and call it classified and nobody really knows where it originated? In other words, there's no chain of custody for all of these classified documents that are just floating around the ether all over the place. Can it be possible that somebody exits with classified documents and materials and nobody ever knows about them? The answer to that question is yes, because she said that here. The departing administration provides us with everything they've got. We are never able to know whether we have all such records. They don't even know what the total inventory is. So I guess they require people to self-report. Now, they had a big problem with Trump having overdue library books, right? He took a big portion of these out and they said, we know you have those and we want those back right now. But evidently, they didn't even know about Joe Biden's records. So doesn't that make it worse for Joe? I mean, Trump, at least they knew about the records. They knew where they were. They could go vet them and make sure that they were secured, stored properly. They did that several times. They went down there. Trump even said hello to the FBI agents when they were down there. They put padlocks on the whole thing. They knew that that inventory existed and they knew that Trump had checked those out, but why not Joe Biden's? And I'm sure it's not appropriate to keep those classified documents without any information being provided to the government. At least in Trump's case, there was some information provided. In Biden's, it was totally under the radar. And why was it? And if they don't know, okay, so like this is what is so scary about this. The National Archives, part of the reason we were thinking that they wanted to raid Trump's residence is so that they could bring back and do an inventory of the documents and say, well, we're missing this one, and this one. You had A, B, and C, but we need X, Y, and Z. And we're missing those because they had a total inventory, right? They knew the total. Somebody borrowed that, return my golf club. I know what golf club you have, return that one back. But they don't know what's out there or what's missing. So Joe Biden, I guess, his lawyers, his personal lawyers, according to the National Archives, they can't even tell what they gave back. So now my joke, the joke here that we had about them showing up with shredders, and they gave back 6 documents. Here you go. Here's 6 documents back. Here's 20 documents back. They could have shredded the rest of them, and nobody would know. The National Archives would have no idea. We're never able to know whether we have all such records until November. And they say until November, we were not even aware that any Obama-Biden records were missing until we found out in November. And then they lied to us and they didn't tell us about it at all. They say, for the reasons noted above, our policy was not to comment publicly about the recovery of the documents in November. I hope this letter helps to address some of your concerns. I will respond further regarding the document production you've requested. Sincerely, Debra Steidel-Wall, head librarian of the United States, who's very upset with Donald Trump, didn't like any of his comments, and is apparently the most powerful person in the whole stinking country. Also very dishonest because in this letter, she is sort of missing the bigger picture here. Yeah, they're not going to comment on the Biden presidential records. That's fine. We didn't actually want a comment from you. We wanted a criminal referral over to the DOJ and the DOJ to do the same thing, apply the same standard that they did to Trump, which in this case would mean a raid. Any property, I don't care, pick one. Any one of them could have been raided. And they didn't do that because of reasons. Now, of course, we'll continue to cover that. NARA, we'll see if they produce anything worthwhile. And a big question we have is, who were the first people on scene? What was the chain of custody from November 2nd to November 3rd, which is a very conveniently missing date, up until November 4th, when it all got transferred over to the DOJ. We'll continue to cover. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking this video wherever you're watching it. And we'll see you on the next one. Now, lastly, on this topic, the Department of Justice snubs the new GOP Oversight Committee and Jim Jordan. He's been telling the DOJ, the FBI, and all of America that the Republicans, now that they're in charge and they run the Judiciary Committee, that they are coming in hot and executing some oversight. This is Representative Jim Jordan on with Laura Ingraham, and he's asked about these Biden documents. And he tells us there's a lot more here than meets the eye. Joe Biden was involved with the CCP in very obscure, tangential ways, but it looks like it's all coming out, and Jim Jordan is going to get to the bottom of it.
University itself.
Well, I'll start with the latter. So first of all, we know that it's been reported that China gave millions of dollars to the University of Pennsylvania. It's been reported that China gave millions of dollars to the University of Pennsylvania and to the Biden Center at the University of Pennsylvania. Then we know, of course, classified documents were found at the University of Pennsylvania Biden Center. And then we know when Joe Biden became president of the United States, he made the president of the University of Pennsylvania the ambassador to Germany. And now the University of Pennsylvania says, oh, we don't know anything about donations from China. None of that makes sense. I mean, that answer makes no sense. So Chairman Comer is going to get the records of who gave money to the University of Pennsylvania. He's determined to do that. And to the former question, he is specifically looking to get the visitor records from the Secret Service of who went to Joe Biden's home, and then also who had access to the Penn Biden Center at the University of Pennsylvania.
Were you surprised, sir, that the White House's response on the visitor log question to Biden's home, they were so dismissive, saying they don't exist? Well, of course, he has secret.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know he has Secret Service protection for life, and we know that they have a record of everyone who comes in contact with him. So why would they have said that, do you think?
I think everyone is surprised at every response we have gotten from the White House. Everyone's surprised at how this whole thing is unfolded. I still don't know the answer to why they were looking in the first place. What prompted them to go look on November 2nd at the Penn Biden Center for whatever they were looking for, or were they specifically going to look for classified documents that may have been there? I don't know the answers. There's all kinds of questions we don't know the answer to. I do think it's interesting, and this is what we'll be looking at in the Judiciary Committee. I do think it's interesting how the DOJ has responded. We've seen all kinds of things that seem inconsistent. Why didn't they accompany the lawyers when they went to pick up the classified documents? I have no idea why they didn't.
I don't know why either.
So there's all kinds of questions there. But my gut tells me the reason we see these inconsistencies from the Department of Justice is because this is the same Department of Justice that spied on parents and targeted parents. This is the same Department of Justice that paid Twitter $3.4 million to censor information and keep it from the American people. This is the same Department of Justice that we believe has retaliated against the very whistleblowers from the FBI who've come talk to us about how political that place has become. So I guess we shouldn't be surprised when we see what we have now witnessed from the DOJ relative to the classified documents and Joe Biden.
Good stuff from Jim Jordan. And, obviously we're going to see what they are able to produce for us. I had to reset a couple settings over here. I'm not sure if the audio changed at all. I pressed the wrong button. All right, so that's Jim Jordan, and he is going after the Democrats from the House Oversight Committee. And he sent a bunch of letters. We've read through most of the letters on this channel, but he is now getting a snub from the DOJ. Here is what this is what the response was from the DOJ. Politico tells us that the DOJ has responded and they're reserving the right to not cooperate with certain House GOP requests. They're saying, no thanks. Thanks for your letters, but we're okay. It's an early marker of how the DOJ is going to be responding to the new oversight by the Republicans. You see, it says here, the Justice Department is signaling that it has the right to not cooperate with Hill Republicans in their request to speak and to peek into their ongoing investigations. It says, we'll read the letter. The letter went back over to Jim Jordan, the man we just listened to. It acknowledges their multiple requests. It's an early marker of the DOJ's position with Republicans. Let's take a listen to what it reads like. Here it is. From the DOJ, Office of Legislative Affairs, Office of the Assistant Attorney General, going over to the Honorable Jim Jordan, Chairman of the Committee on the Judiciary from the Republican Party. They write, Dear Chairman Jordan, all right, we're in receipt of your letter from January 17th, letters to the DOJ, as well as 3 of our law enforcement components, the FBI, the DEA, and the ATF. And we've read through tons of letters from Jim Jordan, many, many of them. And I think there were 1,000 pages in total. It was like a giant novel. It was great. Regarding information requests that you sent during the prior Congress, they say, listen, in light of your appointment as chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, the department would like to take this opportunity to review our practices with respect to congressional engagement for the benefit of you and for us. They say, we look forward to a productive relationship with you. And the DOJ says, we welcome your interest in our work. The Office of Legislative Affairs is responsible for this, and if you'd like to contact them at these numbers. Now, the department will ensure that each congressional letter is dealt with utmost importance. So they're giving them some better ways to contact them so they get responses. The DOJ says, our department stands ready to provide expertise as this committee considers potential legislation. We often provide technical assistance on draft or introduce legislation, and we encourage you to share drafts as early as possible so that we can help. We also anticipate that your new oversight committee will invite department representatives to appear at hearings, which serve as important tools for informing the public. Preparation for these hearings takes time, so we ask that you send written invitation for testimony at least 2 weeks in advance. Sounds reasonable. Sufficient advance notice enables the identification of a mutual agreeable date. The committee should include information about the focus of the hearing and so on. That way we can decide if we want to show up or not. Now, the department will be better able to meet your needs at the hearings if your request is specific. When information is not appropriate for a public hearing, we'll try to do it in closed settings. Once the format of the hearing is established, we'll work through our schedules. Again, we encourage your staff to reach out. Reach out early, and we'll participate. Now, with respect to oversight requests for information and for documents, we share your belief that congressional oversight is vital to our functioning democracy, and we are committed to cooperating with your efforts. As President Reagan explained in his 1982 directive, there's a tradition of accommodation that we should use to resolve conflict. And we think that that is possible. So the DOJ says, okay, Jim Jordan, the committee can assist the department in making this process as efficient as possible by discussing the use of the information. This helps us prioritize requests. And regarding your request to interview our people as part of your oversight, we hope you do this collaboratively. As a matter of longstanding policy, the department refrains from making line agents and line attorneys available. We send supervisory agents, and that is consistent with our historical practices. And also consistent with our practices, we have an obligation to protect the government's ability to prosecute fully, fairly, and effectively. That is the executive branch's core function. And so your January 17th letter, they say, references information requests that you sent during the prior Congress. The department and its components worked in good faith to respond to these requests consistent with our policy, based on interbranch comity and respect for your functions, to give due weight and sympathetic consideration to all of your members. Your January 17th request, writes Carlos Uriarte, made now in your position as chairman, initiate the constitutionally mandated accommodation process. Under this process, the legislative and executive branches have a constitutional obligation to negotiate, but also while protecting the institutional interest of the executive branch. We look forward to this progress. We believe in the good faith negotiations, and we'll focus on current priorities. Finally, we're committed to protecting whistleblowers. We hope this information is helpful, and we look forward to providing a productive relationship. Please do not hesitate to contact us with any additional questions. And so you can see not a giant snub there. He's not saying we're, refusing to cooperate with you, but you can see he's putting out some pretty hard lines there. We'll work with you, do things this way in order for us to be efficient with you. And there are going to be instances where there's basically two justifications, two big buckets of categories that they're not going to work with them on. One, ongoing investigations. The other is executive privilege, right? Any ongoing prosecutions that are taking place, they're going to say, well, one of our constitutional obligations is to make these things separate and apart. And so leave us alone, basically, on that one. And the other one will be about executive privilege. They have an obligation to the executive branch. We do have a separate but equal system of government. And I like it when government agencies are battling with each other. I think it's healthy and normal, and we need more of it in this country rather than everybody just sort of high-fiving each other every time they pass a new spending bill because they're all going on vacation. This is good. We want to see the DOJ pushing back. We want to see Congress going after them. And I hope Congress doesn't let up. Keep the pressure on them. Follow their rules. Do everything by the book here. And never let up. Never stop. Every single person should be hauled in front who's involved in any of these ridiculous prosecutions, and we should get to the bottom of it. So that's the response from the DOJ. Jim Jordan will, of course, respond. The House Oversight Committee will be highly involved, and we'll see what they jump into. But that, my friends, is something we'll continue to cover as there's this ongoing battle. The DOJ, the FBI, the DHS, CDC, on and on and on. The Republicans are going to be launching investigations. We will continue to cover them. Thank you for subscribing and liking this video wherever it is you're watching it. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that was it for us on the day. Whew, we covered a lot of ground on this beautiful, beautiful Friday. We hit the DOJ and their response to the Oversight Committee. We talked about NARA and the head librarian and some political bias at that agency. And we also learned a lot more about Biden and his no regrets feeling. But now it's time to hear from you and to see what you have to say about all of this and more from our friends over on YouTube. I saw a couple super chats come in. Very generous. Thank you very much for sending those in. And let's see what they say. Here was a first one in the House from Les Salavi, who's here. Says his personal attorney is Hunter. Yeah, family representation. Hunter's protecting dad. Hopefully he got a better lawyer who's a little more sober. Good to see you, Les. Thanks for the dono. Ugly Truth is here. Says this is completely hilarious. I think that one came in when we were talking about the rectangles on the board. It was ridiculous. Hey, I don't even know. It's a great question. Well, which number should we use? Well, use the bigger one. We like that one better. Good to see you there, Ugly Truth. We had this one came in from Fred Pedamonte. It says, Robert, you are not clear, prudent, or consistent. Is that a press secretary joke, Fred? I think it's a press secretary joke. I think it is, yeah. I think that's what it is. Well, it's true. If I were clear and I were prudent and I were consistent, well, then presumably we wouldn't be talking about this Joe Biden document saga because I would just understand exactly what Karine Jean-Pierre is communicating. But I'm not that sophisticated. I don't think I can handle it. STFU is in the House and says, WAPO, where democracy dies in darkness, allegedly. Yeah, they cover up a lot of things there. There's a lot of darkness in that magazine. Now, they've done some excellent reporting on this story, which is wild. They actually have done great reporting. We got a lot of good details from them when we were going through that story yesterday. I mean, they've openly, I think, communicated or revealed that the Biden people were disregarding what the DOJ said to do. They said, don't look around for other documents. And guess what? They were looking around for other documents. James Knoll is in the House. Thank you, James. Says, appreciate the work you do, man. Keep chopping wood. We're going to keep doing it, James. Thank you for being here, man. Thanks for continuing to watch. Thanks for joining us. I'm energized by you. We're going to keep going. We've got a lot of work to do here, and I appreciate your support. We had another one come in from Ian Mack, or Lane Mack. I can't tell on that one. It says, what is the cue for KJP? Where is the question for KJP? Says, if you aren't going to comment on an ongoing situation, does the White House regret repeatedly commenting on Trump's situation? She's going to say to that one, well, look, we've been consistent on this one, and I have to be prudent here, and I want to be clear. We just have to make sure we're staying independent. And for those types of questions, I have to refer you to the White House counsel. Okay, well, they're not answering our questions. Do you feel bad about that? I mean, people were screaming at her. She actually got that question. People were screaming at her. Do you feel sorry? Are you sorry for this? Like, is there any remorse at all for how you guys framed the Trump situation and how you're dealing with this now? And the answer is really no. They don't feel any remorse at all. It's just a political blood sport, and they are, winning. They're in charge, so they can do what they want to do, according to them. Patriot 1111 is in the House. Says, thanks for the coverage, Rob. You do great work. Thank you, Patriot. 1111 is in the House. Thank you for sending that one in, and I appreciate you joining us here for it. Jonah Ryan says, Congress needs to make wages zero. See who stays. Yeah, nobody would. They go into Congress and they make they make six figures. Okay, they come out worth like $50 million. Like, look at Liz Cheney. How did that happen? It's all the deals, all the speaking fees, all the book deals. It's good money. Governing is like a separate, thing. Oh yeah. The country we're supposed to be running and saving. Apparently it's not there. We had another one we had a Rumble rant in the House. Shout out to our Rumble friends. MNL Hayes is here. Says, just to thank you, Rumble rant, Rob, for all that you do. Another great job and a great week. Well, thank you, MNL Hayes. And shout out to our friends on Rumble. We love our Rumble friends. Who's in the house? Bastiat's over there. Sportfish is in the house. MNL Hayes is over there. Dog Digger. User1121. Seth Covington. Lil Galaxy's in the house. Along with Trust 2 Kids and others. And so those are our friends over on Rumble. And thank you for those super chats. For the Rumble rants, rather. We had some donos come in over on our locals, too, which is where we're going to go for our after party. But here, we'll share these right here. Shifra Lynn is here. Thank you very much, Shifra, for sending this tip in. Says, thank you, Rob. I love when I catch you live. It's better when you're here with us live. It's way better. So I'm glad that you're here with us. John Allen says, Rob, all I have to say today is that work is screwing up my listening time. Ugh! On a Friday, too? Sorry to hear that, John. Well, hopefully you're wrapping up soon. And going to be calling it a beautiful, beautiful weekend. All right, let's go over to our friends on Twitter before we wrap it up and say hello over there and see what they have for us. See if there's anybody on the Twitter or if it's just Paul and I. Let's see. Oh, it's Paul. It's Paul and I and probably Paul's two other devices. Shout out to Paul Mino and Paul's other devices out there. We got 4 viewers. All right, let's do a pre-screen on these some of these comments here. Oh yeah, we got some good images here. Oh yeah, we have some meme extraordinaire to go through after on the after party. Let's see what we have here. Vientikis is in the house. Says maybe Biden said no rugrats. Maybe he was just letting everyone know his lower age limit for sniffing in case anyone thought he didn't have one. No rugrats? I don't think he has a lower limit on that. Paul says, I'm not joking. Spark her up, Hunter. Yes, the Bidenator. Motivator 9000. China files, Ukraine files, and crack. All right, so this is from our friend Paul Mino at Sleepy Dog Lee on Twitter. I'm not joking. Spark her up, Hunter. The Bidenator Motivator 9000. He's going to be torching a bunch of stuff. The China files, the Ukraine files, and down here, the crack files, just in case you needed to know. Save the crack files for the last one. That's from Paul Mino on Twitter. Here's another one. No regrets. No regrets. Regrets from Joe Biden with the troll. We had another one from Donna, says, investigating Joe Biden. Here's the FBI, blindfolded by the DNC, rummaging around with a classified stick, a walking stick, and he's missing the classified documents. Oh no, we can't see anything over here. Danny says, where's the puppet master? Biden's nose is growing. Like I said a few days ago, someone signed for them. That's how they knew what Trump had, talking about plausible deniability. Good to see you, Danny. James is here, says NARA will get the blame for all of this. Both sides now want them to be ended. It is they who called the FBI in and made the stink in the first place. The archivist will be reassigned looking for records on polar bears in Alaska. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she's wielding a lot of power these days. She did, though. She started the whole Trump raid thing. It wouldn't have started without her complaint. This one came in from Ben Garrison. Obama is saying, time to go, Joe. Clean up on aisle 46, classified documents, along with ice cream caught up in the broom. Kamala's cackling away back there. Great. We're going to have President Kamala before Newsom takes over. Donna's here, says, everyone knows I take classified documents seriously. Actually, they know that you just take classified documents, Joe. Not too seriously, though. Here's another one. Couple more from Donna. This one came in. Dad, can I have the keys? My friend wants to go for a ride. That's Hunter with the CCP rummaging through his Corvette. And the garage or the license plate says big guy. Here's another one from Donna. This one says, looks like Joe and Hunter's in a car together. Ben Garrison wrote this one. You took classified documents very seriously. Good one, Dad. And there's President Xi back there rummaging through the documents and probably right next to Hunter Biden's crack pipe. Some good memes over there. Here, Omnipotent says, if Hunter was at Joe's house during the lockdowns, does he have top secret clearance or on the National Archives payroll? There should be a W-2 for that, or is that tax income evasion? Yeah, they're looking through a lot of those tax records. In fact, my understanding is that Joe Biden pulled some of them down off of the internet. Scurvy Hervey, I see, is in the Twitter chat with several comments. Here's one of them. Says, it's time to see what the secret documents numbers are and simply check with the Fed records to see when they fell off the back of the truck for Hunter. Did Obama declassify them, or are they still national security held by a citizen and a crackhead son for years? I don't know, Scurvy. Yeah, it's probably the latter, unfortunately. And as we heard from Debra today on the show, it doesn't sound like she is going to be too interested in digging into any of them. So those were the great comments from our friends over on Twitter. And of course, thank you for joining us on Twitter and dropping comments over there. We are appreciative of supporting the other free speech platforms like Rumble and Twitter and some of the others. And so thank you for following us on those in case something goes down on YouTube, which is always a real risk. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going to go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our after party, where we'll hit some final comments and some final memes on the day. And so if you want to join us on this beautiful Friday, head on over there. It's very easy and free at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. You can come over there and join our community. Cost you nothing. We hang out. We do member-only streams. If you want to chat and participate and stuff like that, then you do have to join. But if you want to just kind of lurk and hang out, come join us. We also want to thank our sponsors of the program, our friends over at 4patriots.com, where you can go and get good survival gear, survival food, and be prepared in case you need it. At 4patriots.com, you can use code Robert to save 10% off anything in the store. Also, check out our friends over at Goldco. RobertLikesGold.com is the web address. You can protect your retirement and your savings with gold and silver, and they'll give you a nice deal if it works for you. We have a new sponsor starting on Monday, which will be a lot of fun. And of course, our law firm, the R&R Law Group, 480-787-0394, online at rrlawaz.com. And we help good people charged with crimes find safety, clarity, and hope. And we very much appreciate your referrals. They keep us busy and doing our best work. Also want to thank the mods who mod down the fort for us. Ultra shout outs go out to Vientikis Prime, our friend K Bean, who is in the chat. We've also got Just Cause. We've got Lean. I miss Lean. Anybody have eyes on Lean? Playing hookies in the house. Ronnie Cole. We've got Zulus in the chat. We also have Geomancy, who swings by from time to time. And we're grateful for the mods who mod down the fort for us. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. It's a beautiful weekend ahead of us. We had a beautiful week together. Thank you for joining us as we went through all of the stories of this very busy week. We will be going over to locals. If you would like to join us, head over there. Otherwise, I hope you have a beautiful weekend. I hope you rest up, unplug from politics, get outside, get some fresh air, hang out with friends and family. Unplug, because, boy, we got to recharge those batteries. Because next week, it's going to be a whole new one. There might even be more documents. We don't even know. But whatever it brings, we'll be here, and I look forward to your help. And so next week, I hope to see you here so that together we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Have a tremendous evening, my friends. I'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.